So boom, we're done. No, all right. Now, all right, here's what I got. An application from Scott Commercial Properties LLC. Is that who legally owns the property?
That is correct.
Okay, and you're Andrew Stahl.
That is correct.
And we have a neighbor here. You're a neighbor? You're a budding property owner?
Yeah.
Do you guys get along?
We do not.
Well, the reason I ask that is, we're gonna make a decision one way or another tonight, and typically, if people can agree on something, it makes your life a lot easier, neighbors get along. Have you discussed at all a place where this thing could go that would make you happy and you happy? Have you had any opportunity to sit down and say, hey, wouldn't mind it over here, wouldn't mind it over here? Have you even done that?
I think a lot of what I'm trying to say is that there's not enough room on the property for him to do that. There's not enough room on his property for what he has. He also owns two pieces of property about 200 yards away on the other side of the road, which is not in drinking water protection, that he could put this shed. And also, to extend this a little bit.
You both have your chance. Listen, the reason I'm asking this is, the criteria that you gotta meet is strict, and Steve says it best.
I don't think anyone can meet it.
Right?
What they say? I don't think anyone can meet it.
So, I do this, we have neighbors come in and they talk on tax appeals. For example, we had a tax appeal come in on Shaw's. The city's at 7.2. The Shaw's family that owned it was at 5.5, and on the night of the hearing, they were at 6.5. And I said, I'm a lawyer, Steve Salisbury is a surveyor, he's a property manager, he's a retired teacher, he's an engineer, he's an engineer. We don't appraise, but we will. And they went into the hallway and they came back with a solution to the problem that they all agreed on. It's always nice to do that. Is there any desire to try to do that for 5 or 10 minutes, go out and talk? Because opposition is what we ask. We say, what are you proposing? Is there any opposition? And most of the time, we don't get opposition. Most neighbors don't give a damn, you know? Except we did have one where the guy tried to build it within 6 feet of his neighbor's property, and it's gonna totally ruin his view. I mean, we understood, right? Is there any way you guys can go out and talk as gentlemen and try to resolve this?
I have no problem with putting it anywhere. I'm trying to move it to, if he's my neighbor as it is now. I mean, he's saying that on that whole property, spent $50,000 for that adjoining lot back in the 90s, that there's absolutely no room to have a storage shed on there, which is just ridiculous. I'm not looking to, to add on a 3-car garage to the house. I mean, it's...
Laura, what's the required setback?
From the road,
Yeah.
20 feet.
So he's gonna be 10, how wide's the building?
12.
Well, why can't you set it back a little
I
further?
could, it's just you gotta do more filling in and cut more trees. I mean, it would still meet all the shoreline zoning
But it could be,
requirements, but
it could be moved back then.
you could, but I mean, it's not out of the norm for Sergeant Drive. I mean, there's sheds and buildings on there, even
Doesn't matter.
permanent
Listen,
garages.
can I just tell you, it doesn't matter. You're
Well,
here.
it mentions it
No,
in the criteria
please,
about
please,
doesn't
please, please.
fit the neighborhood.
We're gonna be asked to rule and apply the variance law. I don't care if 17 people up the road did the same thing. It's not gonna impress us. What you're gonna have to do is convince us that you meet all the criteria for a variance, and it's damn near impossible. Therefore, I'm suggesting that you guys come up with a plan that pleases everybody, so that we can bless this mess and move on with life.
Well, I'm not gonna bless any plan that doesn't meet the requirements. I can tell you that right now.
Okay, well, my suggestion of amicable's, probably didn't go over well. So anyway, let's just hear it. Sir, this is what we're gonna do. We've got your submission, we've got your application, we've all read it. You get to stand at the podium and identify yourself, and you tell us why you meet all the criteria and why this needs to be done. He will listen and not say a word. He will have his chance to come up to the podium after you and say why he doesn't want it, why he opposes it, and then we'll ask, does anybody else want to speak? And since there's nobody else here, so. The lady in the back row. We will then probably take a vote, and you either win or lose, and you either get what you want or not. That's the way it's gonna work. So, without further ado, I invite you to come to the podium, introduce yourself, and tell us why we need to grant this.
All right, well, I'm here based on a recommendation from the Code Enforcement Office. Just looking for a very bit of simple relief of 10 feet from a private road that, again, it does mention in the application, does it fit the consistency of the neighborhood, which it does. There's many items there and different sheds and garages and whatnot that are much closer than this. This is, well behind the telephone poles and everything that are there, and I'm looking to, set it right up on the edge of the road where there'd be any impediment to snow removal or whatnot. We've been accused of being misleading the Code Enforcement Office.
No, we don't, no, just state your facts, we don't need the bashing.
Well, that was in writing to all of us, so, it's not hearsay or anything of that nature. And
All right, go
I've
ahead.
worked very hard in good faith to work with the Code Enforcement Officer, met with the previous Code Enforcement Officer in the spring of 2021. He said that where I have the shed now would work based on the fact there wasn't a survey in place and generally wasn't a required component. There wasn't a pin there. I put it, to the best of my knowledge, with a very wide and unusual bit of right-of-way there with the road as it makes a sharp 90-degree turn. Then I placed the shed there in November of 2021.
This is the
And-
shed in your application, it's the orange shed, right?
Correct.
That's the one.
That is currently marked there, yes.
Okay, and you want it to move to green?
Correct.
Okay.
And in doing so, I just would like to get 10 feet of relief on Sergeant Drive. I'm not asking for any on any neighbors, and I'm doing it to help appease and do what I thought I was doing best from the first part. Again, going back to 2021, just after I moved the shed in there, within just a day or so, I had Lori out there, and one of her assistants came out as well. We hand measured everything, and everything looked to be in place. And then my neighbor got a survey done over the course of the winter, and then I got a letter that it was sitting over the line, as you see it there, in that survey sketch. That was done by a professional surveyor, and then I've just looked to bring it over and put it on the other lot, and in doing so, would like 10 feet of relief from the road. Not from any neighbors or from shoreline zoning or anything, just simply from the road.
So that's a private road?
It is. Yeah, it has been mentioned to me by the
Who
road
owns?
surveyor and whatnot, that there's been questions about this in the past on how much
Is it-
oversight that the city even has over a private road, and how much those apply for setbacks.
Who owns the road?
The road association of the owners of Sergeant Drive, the people that own property on it.
So is there a deed to that road to the Property Owners Association?
The road is referenced in the deed to the properties, I believe.
On your deed?
I believe so, yes,
So,
as a private road.
I have a deed.
So as the road has a width, a right-of-way width?
Yes, as labeled on that survey.
It is 20-foot wide right-of-way?
Well, It
If
kind of
the,
widens out there.
If the association had a vote
33 foot.
and they accepted it, does our opinion even apply?
good question. I think city's ordinance apply whether the road is private or public.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm sorry.
Do we know that for certain?
You'll get your chance.
It is a gray area, but.
Well, you'll get your chance. Mark it down as one of the topics you want to talk about.
Okay.
Well, you have this line that's shown adjacent to the right-of-way, Lori, that's the property line?
I'd have to look at it.
The purple, it'll be the purple, or whatever color that is. This one's purple, this one's,
Well, I don't know, I'm colorblind.
I'm colorblind.
Something.
I know that's
Yes.
green,
That's it.
that looks
Yes.
orange.
Okay.
That's his property
Ish.
line, and this
And
is the
it's
right.
That
on-
looks-
this is everything else is in the right-of-way.
Right,
Yeah.
and this is where the road is.
Yeah.
So that was what was confusing, is we didn't know the width of that right-of-way.
In looking at the map he provided, it lists lot 32 and 31. The deed refers to parcel 1 and parcel 2. Can we
Okay.
cross-reference those to say which one is in conflict here? Because the right-of-ways in parcel 1 and 2 are different widths, one's 30 and one's 20.
Precisely, it's very confusing.
So.
Well, actually, on parcel one, it references lot 31 as shown on the cottages. And then on parcel
Okay.
two, it references lot 31, and then it goes down to talk about going off measurements from lot 31.
Okay. But it doesn't seem about lot 32.
It
right?
doesn't, I think lot 32 might have been carved out of something.
31?
Nah, maybe, who knows with these old plans? Because it references the plan from 1957. And Branch Lake lots, they were always small anyway.
Right.
Anyway, do we know if this is the property line? Is this what the surveyor gave us, best
Yes,
evidence?
yeah.
Do you have something that contradicts?
No, he gave that to me.
I have superimposed the survey that Andrew had onto the survey that I had done to show where the property line is and where the setbacks are.
Is that what you got there?
Yes.
Have you seen this, Scott?
I've seen this 8.5 by 11 version that was submitted, if that's,
This has a, this, I was, able to the best of my ability to put the house on it and to show the limitations of the property.
Have we got a copy of that?
No.
What he sold it at?
Yeah, what he's got.
You have a copy of this survey. I added to it.
All right, well,
So you might have, I don't know what's on yours.
all we got is this.
What is that? I can't see.
This is what he submitted.
Yeah, that's this right here, yeah. That's
It's just a segment
my
of yours.
survey.
You had a survey done. Do you have extras of those?
Yes, I do.
Because if you want us to consider it, I'm gonna have to make it part of the evidence.
You want it now, or when I?
Either one. I'd like to take a look at that. Do you mind if I do?
no, of course not.
All right. We usually have markers and stickers and, but. Is this a smaller version?
It's scaled exactly the same.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I see how you got it. Sargent Drive shows more of the area. Pin, property line.
So to not require a variance, Lori, he'd have to be 20 feet from the property line. Is that-
Is that what it
I've
is?
never seen what he's passing out.
No, but he'd
No,
have
set-
to, as a rule,
From the
Not-
road.
To not require.
He would need a variance if he
Yes,
was 20 feet.
Yes,
20 feet is the, yeah.
yes.
I have the same one, I'm pretty sure. It's the same one that you said.
I think what would do, what,
It's the same one here.
What we're looking at is just a bigger version, more detail away from the property.
But I mean, how
It's
do
the
you know
same
if
survey that was provided by the appellant. He actually used your,
That's my survey.
you did the survey, he
I
used
did
it.
the survey.
Yeah, I told him I couldn't.
He used a survey that was a draft.
Well, in our packet came this.
Yeah.
Is this a draft?
No, that's my survey.
He
I
used-
believe that's my survey.
Who gave us this, the city or?
He did.
He did, okay. And
Like you
so,
say, it's your
Alan
survey,
Gordon.
Jeff, you hired a surveyor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you hired Alan Gordon?
yeah.
all right. Do you contest the accuracy of his survey?
No,
Okay. So,
I mean, it really has nothing to do with it. I mean, I'm just saying, okay, if it can't be over there, or that's too close, then can I put it over on the other side and I'd like to get 10 feet of relief with it? Very simple.
well, let me ask you, one of the criteria is there's no other way to do it. And when Steve was asking you earlier, can you move it back from the road, you said yes, but you'd have to dig and grub, right?
No, I said that you've got to fill in going towards the shoreline protection zone, which I think is, all of us would agree, is not optimal, you know, next to a lake situation to try to fill in any more than necessary.
But
when it's
could
already
you
there.
fill in that without violating any environmental zoning laws and put your thing 20 feet away from the property line?
No, not with a shed. I mean, then you'd practically be in there building a retaining wall and everything for it. I mean, it's not,
Well, it's not the
Really
cost.
practical.
Could you do it? I understand it would cost.
I would argue, no, it's not practical.
I'm not talking practical. Can you do it?
I don't know. I'd have to,
That generate any questions?
If you were to move it 10 feet back towards the lake, would you still be within beyond 100 feet from the lake?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but it doesn't say if he's got enough room in the.
Oh, right, exactly.
I can't see how we can grant a variance because it's easier for the applicant to put something closer to the property line than it is to move it within compliance. I don't, as long as moving it back, he's still outside the shoreline zone or he's in compliance, right, Laura?
I don't know, I didn't measure that.
And I mean, your question seems reasonable, but unfortunately, we're stuck to these questions here that we always have to
Yeah,
go
no, I
by.
understand.
The criteria is just, they should rewrite this statute, but anyway. Do you have anything that you want to offer us? Are you done, actually? You have
Yeah.
anything else you want us to hear?
Nothing further.
You, sir, come on up, introduce yourself, and tell us what you're thinking. Now, before he does, I alerted everybody when we were trying to reschedule, he was out of the country. My wife plays tennis with his wife. I've known this gentleman, I've played tennis with him once or twice. We don't socialize, I know him as I know who he is, I'd say hello, I'd shake his hand, I'd go to a wedding, say hello. And you indicated that doesn't bother you? Okay. And I just wanted people to know that.
So you touched on a lot of what I was going to present, okay? My feeling is that there just isn't enough room there to put all the things he has. This, this is a photo of the property. And he's got a skid steer, this truck and trailer. The truck is almost entirely within the right of way and partially off his property. The
What does
shed,
that have to do with anything?
the shed is off
It's his
his property.
chance. We'll figure it out.
The shed
What weight to give it.
has a section of it as shown on the, is off the property. I'm just giving you what I was gonna present.
All right, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add to this bigger section of the map
I have it.
that Lori has, mark that as 1. Opposition 1, op 1, okay? And then we'll put this one, if you wanna do your
I mean,
pictures,
the reason I'm bringing this up is it's just, there's so much stuff here, and you can see,
well, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters, if it's a code enforcement problem, she'd deal with it. The question we have is, should we grant a variance for this shed, period?
Okay, this is a picture of the area that he wants to put the shed. And I'm standing, I can't prove it.
That's where the shed's gonna go.
This is where.
He wants it to go.
It's actually back towards the back of this. I think he has to fill in back there, but I couldn't get on the property to measure, so
When you say fill in, Jeff, how many lineal feet?
I can't hear you.
How many feet do you have, would he have to fill? How much would he have to raise the grade?
I can't, well, it
Was
looks
it
like
6
it's
feet,
about
10 feet, 20
about
feet?
6 feet, maybe larger.
How much?
Well, you can see it.
It's not a cliff and it's not the Grand Canyon.
But there's so it's gonna be at least 6 feet, I would say, in places more.
So can we mark that picture OP2, OP2 opposition? Just put it on the back.
This is a picture of my line, which my surveyor put there.
This is on the property next door.
Excuse me.
This is my property, but I also
Didn't
own
mean
the
to
property
sneeze
with a
at you.
house across the street from him. So, this shows how much is off of his property completely.
That's the shed there now.
That's the shed. The rest of the shed, according to this, is within the right of way.
All right. Oh, so that's this shed here,
Yes.
which is marked on the colored one as orange. Is that an orange? Okay, this right here. So that picture's taken like here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can see from this, that not only is it off his property, it's totally within the right of way.
Okay, well, he's gonna move it.
Well, I know, but my point is, in the spirit of what he was presenting, I didn't agree with hardly anything he said.
That's all right.
This is not something that a code enforcement officer would miss, that by 20 feet.
All right, well, that's Lori, is where his shed is now a code violation?
If I didn't know he was that far off. We went out and we measured, and we thought we were measuring from a property line.
Okay. So Lori will deal with the current
Oh,
location
yeah.
problem.
Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna
yeah.
deal with the proposed change.
Okay.
And the proposed change is the green, and that's OP2, and OP3, the one that you just showed with the property line, mark that one OP3, that's this right here. That shows the picture of the existing shed, and Lori can do what she's gonna do with him, but he's trying to move it, so that's a good sign. Any other pictures that show the location?
Well, all of this stuff is off of his property.
We get that. I mean, it's pretty clear from the map that the stuff
Okay.
is not on his property. But we're here to see if we can get a variance to move the shed to a certain location. And from what he's told us, and what the pictures show, is he's gonna have to do some filling if we don't grant a variance. Bottom line.
Well, there's other options besides filling. You can-
All right, anything else you'd like to add?
Concrete
I
posts.
see what you're saying. I got the picture.
Not rocket science,
You need-
Let me just check.
even wood
Yeah,
posts.
take it down.
Do you see that picture?
Did you guys see these pictures?
Briefly.
OP1, OP2, and OP3.
Coming.
Lori, the dedicated.
Let Vanna come up and show us the pictures.
There you go. All right, I'm gonna make those part of the record. Do you object to those, sir?
No.
Okay. I guess we have to run this like a court.
This is where it's going.
If anybody can do it, you can.
Spent all day there today.
It really is, going to be frost protected now.
Yeah.
You guys wanna,
Put some styrofoam under your keys.
So,
Done.
these are some of my other arguments
you that.
against this, okay? And I might be wrong on this, because I don't really know my way around the zoning laws or anything, but I ran across something that said the minimum lot width in the drinking water protection zone is 300 feet. This is only 150 feet.
That's a non-conforming lot.
is it non-conforming?
Then I read later.
All lots are now.
Then it says minimum lot frontage is 200 foot along a right-of-way.
Here's the problem I'm gonna point out. When they
And that-
first designed all these properties around Green Lake, Branch Lake, Beach Hill Pond, they came in and they made lots 50 feet, 20 feet, 40 feet, and then we changed the zoning. So we're gonna pull everybody's property out now. That's why, and I get what you're trying to point
I
out.
mean, this is something that, it wasn't there, this is something new.
Okay, well, I'm here to see if we can give him a variance for a shed in a specific location. The rest of his property really doesn't bother me. If it's out of compliance, Lori's gonna go up there and say, hey, can you move this, can you move that?
It's legally non-conforming.
Legally non-conforming.
What do you mean, Laurie, by that?
Pardon me?
What do you mean?
It existed before the ordinance existed.
Grandfather?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Every lot on Green Lake almost is. Like, it's too small. You know, you own property up there, you had to buy 6.
That's right,
He had to buy 6 to put in what he wanted,
yeah.
all right? I mean,
I bought 40.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got nice land. All right, listen, I'm gonna ask these questions of the applicant, and I'll give you a chance to come back here.
Yep.
First question we asked, does it meet the provisions of the 100-foot setback? And then it says that the land in question cannot yield a reasonable return unless a variance is granted. Perhaps somebody could tell me why this land cannot get a reasonable return if a variance isn't granted. This is the one that kills everybody. And I would, can I ask you to sit over here? I've got your stuff and you're gonna get a second chance, but I didn't cover this with the applicant. Tell us, can you come up here? Here's the question we have to answer affirmative for you. That the land in question cannot yield a reasonable return unless a variance is granted. Tell us why.
Well, the additional lot that was purchased after the first lot in 1956, that was purchased in the 90s, would be of absolutely no economic value whatsoever unless you can use it for something. And one would think that putting a shed on it would meet the very small and most minimal requirements of
A reasonable.
reasonable use of the lot. I mean, otherwise, the lot will never be good for anything other than a place to have additional trees.
But you said you could put the shed on it if you moved it back to the 20-foot setback, if you used fill or put posts under the shed.
Possibly, but
Well, let me ask the second
I'm not
question.
saying that affirmatively. I just don't want to say absolutely no or absolutely yes one way or the other because I haven't.
I'm going to ask the
Yeah,
second
that way.
question you need to respond to. That the need for the variance is due to the unique circumstances of the property and not to the general conditions of the neighborhood, whatever that means. The statute was written by people that probably knew more than we do. Can you tell me why that the need for the variance is due to the unique circumstance? And you were alluding to the property size earlier, but can you expand upon your answer to answer that so we can either make a finding for or against you?
Primarily, the property is located on the exact 90-degree, which is very plainly delineated in the map, of Sergeant Drive, where the whole setback from the road is in question based upon that, and much wider than it would be on any other lot that would be on the straight line on the road. I mean, there's no other lot on a 90-degree angle on Sergeant Drive aside from this one, so it is very unique.
Okay. Then the next question, that the granting of a variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
And again, going back to what I said, there are other properties with much closer outbuildings than this one. Throughout Sergeant Drive, being a private road, there is no delineated sidewalk or anything that you'd find, on other side streets in Ellsworth.
Okay. Finally, that the hardship is not the result of action taken by you or a prior owner.
The hardship is just because I am trying in good faith to relocate it to a location that is better. I mean, especially after I've been out there with the previous and the current code enforcement officer that went over the current location.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to answer the same questions. You can sit right there and do it from there. Actually, can we record him? Do you want anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. And you'll get the last chance. Hi. He has to convince us that the land in question cannot yield a reasonable return unless a variance is granted. What saith you?
Well, his father, who I did get along with, told me that they bought that land to buffer his house. And I think that the value of the land, really intrinsically, is the fact that it's open, it's an open lot and protects his house.
All right, do you think that the property has value that's reasonable right now without this variance?
It's much, yes, absolutely.
All right, then he has,
Excuse me, okay, go ahead. Yep.
he has to show that the need for the variance is due to the unique circumstances of the neighborhood and property, and not to the general conditions of the neighborhood, or however that reads. What do you say on that?
Is this the part that, if there's precedence, it's okay?
Kind of,
Okay, I have a photograph, I totally disagree with what he just said. I have a photograph here that shows a good quarter, I just wrote down there, there are possibly two garages that are closer than 20 feet, and they were built a long time ago. There's nothing else. Here's a picture of a straightaway that goes to his house, and there are 17 lots.
is this a new picture?
Huh?
Is this a new picture?
New picture.
Opt 4. Show it to the gentleman.
There are like 17 lots on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
on the lake side, and almost as many on the left-hand side. And there's not a single thing you can even see until you see this tiny little dot down there that's his truck.
Okay.
So everything on that side is at least 20 feet back
Absolutely. You can't even see it from the road.
off the trees there.
Opt 4, show it around. You object to this?
Yes, I think it's taking into consideration just one little area and not a garage just before that, so I absolutely object, that is not
You don't think that's representative?
I do not.
I'm going to allow it in because it is relevant to one of your comments. It shows his perspective, and it's something that a court would consider.
I don't know what to say. I mean, there just aren't any other, except the two garages that I saw.
All right, well, let's go to the third question, that the granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
Okay, we owned the lot across the street from him on that map. And we put up a house there, a long house, long, and sited it in such a way that we would look, that would be the view to the lake. And after having talked to his father and him telling me that about the land, we put the house that way. Now, if he puts his shed there, that is right, that devalues our property.
Well, so you're saying that it would change the essential character of the neighborhood?
For me, it would.
Okay.
Along-
Finally.
Along the road, Jeff, where is this picture taken?
Well, I did it right there so you can see the telephone pole.
So that's right here, so.
No, what? No, gee, this is a quarter mile down the road from his house. His house is that tiny little dot is his truck, way down there.
Mhm.
So there's nothing there.
So we're looking this way? You're standing looking this way?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. But that then is the area of it.
Yep, I mean, that's just the Lord, the rest of the road goes like this.
Mm.
Where's your house in relationship to where it says Sargent on the road? You said you're across the street. The Sargent Drive and the
Yeah,
word Sargent.
okay.
Is this accessible? Do you guys take the Winkin Pond Road?
Correct.
That, you go, Mango Road, turn to Winkin
Correct.
Pond and go in and
That's
Correct.
right.
find
Right.
it.
About
Yeah,
there.
next road,
So then that's,
Yeah.
that's the view.
next left.
So even if he goes in compliance, you potentially get some blockage, so.
Okay.
Do you want to see it?
Excuse me.
I'm familiar with this area.
This is the house.
That's your house?
This is our, yes.
Okay.
So this is the view.
But you're gonna lose that anyway, even if he goes to be within compliance, there's gonna be some obstruction of your view.
Where's he gonna put the shed?
Well, I just don't think there's any room for him to do anything.
If he goes his 20-foot setback, which doesn't require our voting on it at all,
Right.
it would be right there.
So you're looking
He
at-
can put it in there if it's 20 feet away from the
He can't
top.
put it there because that is a slope that he has to fill, and that's within 100 feet of the lake.
So, I mean, that's something for another day, nothing to do with us, but this shows that there's, this 100-foot setback is here, and this is 20-foot setback, and you're saying this, what is it, 12 feet wide?
Correct.
Yeah, that.
It's not 12 feet
It's
there?
not, it's not.
Again, that's something for code enforcement, that would be nothing for.
So what's the rule on filling?
Lori, can he fill it in?
Outside the 100 feet, I'm sorry?
Can he fill it in?
Outside the 100 feet, you could bring in some fill, but you'd have to stabilize it so it didn't end up in the lake.
It's the runoff they're worried about.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But if he moved it back to be in compliance, would he be within 100 feet?
That I couldn't tell you, I didn't.
Well, let's assume it was within 100 feet. What does he go to, DEP and get a permit?
Well, he couldn't really bring in fill. The DEP wouldn't allow him to bring in.
So,
He's within
if-
that.
But you could put it on posts,
He could put it on.
he could put the low end on posts,
Right.
we were talking about that.
You can't.
Yeah.
Not if it's within the 100
Within
feet.
100 feet.
Oh, okay.
Can't
Because the
do
structure,
anything?
because the structure would still be within 100 feet.
So the suggestion that he move it back 20 feet, can it be done? I mean, in all fairness to him.
I'm getting confused here now. I thought that he could move it back and still be in compliance.
Depends on where the shoreline is. You know, if the shoreline goes up closer.
I don't know if we have that accurate information, though.
Well,
I
this,
don't know.
this map seems to show property line, 20-foot setback, and then it's got a line that shows a 100-foot setback from lake. And seems to me that
There's 10 feet in there.
there's, you get enough room. So he could do something small, fill it in, and figure out,
Stabilizer.
stabilize it. Well, well, we don't have exact measurements, but that's what this map seems to tell us, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's my point, is that, you know, everything else is surveyed, and that's just someone wrote in 100 feet.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I did the best I could, but it's,
All right, well, the final question we have to ask is that the hardship is not the result of action taken by the appellant or prior owners. What saith you on that point?
Can I ask an obvious question? My first point was there's just not enough room. He has a truck, he has a trailer, he has equipment, he has a car. Where's he gonna put those? They're not in compliance now.
They don't have setbacks. They're not structures.
You mean he can put his, okay, this confuses me, because you're saying that he can put his truck and leave it there for 5 months and not move it?
That's
In
exactly
the right
right.
of
As
way?
soon as I move that shed, I'm gonna buy the nastiest, oldest trailer and back it right in there where it is. There's
Well,
nothing
that's
you can
why
do
I
with it.
kind of hoped you'd get, that's okay. Listen, yes and no, and then it becomes junkyard issues, and we'll see what happens. But-
This question's from me. I don't know.
But here's what I'd really
What you can
like.
do
So our record is
in a
clear.
right of way.
I need to know that the hardship is not the result of action taken by appellant. What do you say on that point? Then you can tell us what you think on,
Could you say it again, please?
yes. He has to show us that the hardship is not the result of action taken by the appellant or a private owner, or prior owner. Whatever that means.
Okay.
These are the, in the statute that we get this stuff from, that's the questions they make somebody seeking a variance to answer. Typically, people coming in here seeking a variance is nobody opposing, and we grant them like water. This one, because you're opposing it, we're making him show us proof that he meets the criteria of the variance statute. And it simply asks the hardship, he's claiming he needs a variance because he's got a hardship. And in his mind, the hardship is, it would cost too much to put it back 20 feet. I don't know if I can put it back 20 feet. I'd like to put it on the side of the road. Please cut me some slack. You're here saying, I don't want that granted because the hardship is his own problem. Is that pretty much it?
Especially when he has 2 lots down the road that he could use.
All right.
Now, but
Final
can I-
point.
can-
Go ahead.
Can I ask this? This is, again, because I don't understand what a right-of-way, what that entails. Okay, so can he or me, can anyone leave their vehicle permanently in the right of way.
Asking for a legal opinion about an issue, not, an issue is not gonna be allowed.
Well,
That,
my-
no,
my
no, let me
point-
just tell you,
I get-
we're here for a very specific
Well,
thing.
I'm making a point.
No, listen, I'm not gonna create problems for him or you. Here's the way it's gonna go. We're here to discuss whether a variance is gonna be granted and whether he has the facts to meet the grant. The fact that he's parked his truck, I don't care. The
No,
fact
I-
that, no, it doesn't matter, I get it. The fact that you believe that he's out of compliance, the only question that we're gonna answer today is whether we can give him a variance to put that shed within the 20-foot setback. And to do that, he has to meet all this criteria. I've asked him what his answers are for that criteria. I asked you what his answers are for that criteria. I don't care that he's got a truck here that irritates you, and I don't care what he's gonna do with the trailer in the future. Do you believe he has met the conditions for the granting of a variance is the real question? Yes or no?
I don't.
Okay. And you think you have?
Yes.
Is there any more evidence that we need to hear? Either party, either you, do you want to say anything more, have us consider anything more? Because right now, we've got surveys, we've got your testimony, we've got pictures, ops 1, 2, 3, and 4, and do we need anything else? And we've got your answers.
I don't mean to be aggravating.
No, it's
about
okay.
this, okay? But if he puts that there, where is he, that's why I asked the question, where is he gonna put all of his other stuff? So if you grant him this variance, you may put him in non-conformance. on
That's a
all
code
these
issue,
other
that's
things.
something we don't
We
vote
don't
on.
grant,
That's-
we don't care.
If they're doing something
That's-
wrong, or they have a
that's not the
junkyard or
issue
something,
why we're
that's
here.
a
No, I
code
mean a
issue.
junk car, I mean his car. I mean, there's no, if you look at the map.
You
he
pay taxes on the
hardly-
land, if you have a 10-foot setback and it's not a structure, yes, you can park your car there.
What's that? Say it again, please.
If you have a piece of land, even though it's a setback, you're paying taxes on it, you own that land, you can't put a structure on it, but you certainly could park a vehicle or a four-wheeler or something like that if you wanted to. That's just from what I know, and I'm not an attorney or nothing.
Listen, here's, people come to this board, and then they start throwing these other questions, and they leave here when the issue isn't whether the car is there or not. The issue is, do we grant a variance?
Okay.
And then you say, well, the board said he can or cannot park. I'm not offering an opinion on that, and anything we say on that issue is just what the judges call dicta. And it's not relevant to the issue we have here. The issue we have here is, should we grant him a variance based on his presentation and your opposition to it? So, is the evidence done?
Yeah.
All right.
I have just a couple.
You go right ahead, you can have the final point.
So, just to close, I am here because I am here under the recommendation of the code enforcement office. I've done everything I can to work with them from day one on this project. I am here to try to appease my neighbor. I will note, this is the first time the code enforcement office has ever had a neighbor come and in opposition to moving well, in this case, it's a shed, but in any kind of a structure onto a non-abutting part of the property. This has nothing to do, he's not an abutter on this. This has absolutely nothing to do with that side of the property. I'm here to try to fix it and keep working in good faith as I have done since day one. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll respond to that. First and foremost, Lori tells everybody to come to Board of Appeals when she can't grant something that they want. Our code enforcement office used to be very combative and not helpful, and then they became very helpful. And they tell people what they can do. They help you plan your projects. You go to Lori, she'll tell you how you can get what you want and not when yet. And the things that she says, I can't give you permission to do this, she asks us to help you. If we can help you and legally do it, yes. If there's nobody here opposing, we do our best work unopposed. But to say that not the neighbors, butters or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're near this parcel, you have the right to voice your opinion. And this gentleman has. And the last one we had was, the guy wanted to move his house. He wanted to put it 6 feet from the property line, and we said no. All right, we've done them with and without opposition. And it really doesn't matter, but no opposition helps you. So with that, I'm gonna close the evidence, unless you want to say something else.
Doesn't this set a precedence for other people on that road?
I don't care if it does. Listen.
I'm just asking.
Listen, we're here to make a judgment on his facts and his facts alone. You know, lawyers, judges often.
But that's part of the criteria, is whether it influences the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, if we grant it, we'll see what happens. If we deny it, we'll see what happens. So I just, when you sit in court all day like I do and you see people go back and forth, you keep track of the nitty-gritty and the fine points. The judge is making a decision on the bigger points. And the bigger points in this case is, should we grant a variance on 4 very clear criteria that you both have answered? The fact that there's a car there, a trailer coming, disdain and dislike, that doesn't matter in our decision. Here's our decision. We gotta make findings for him and 4 criteria. Say we close the evidence and discuss it. And here's what I see. These criteria are crazy. And Steve is, yeah.
They may be crazy, but
They're crazy, but they're crazy for a reason.
we have to adhere to
It's almost
them.
identical in every town.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here's the
Same
problem I
criteria.
see. Steve and you had a good discussion about, can you move it back? That to me says, I don't need to grant this variance if you can move it back. Because this property is worth something, it's got a reasonable yield, and putting the shed here, there, everywhere. So I would find that you haven't met the criteria for number 1. Number 2, need the variance, unique set of circumstances in the property. All those properties out there are small and everyone wants to cram as much stuff on them as they can. You just can't. So I don't think that the uniqueness of this property generates any sympathy for you, and don't think that you met that criteria. If we granted this, would it alter the essential character of the neighborhood? I don't think it would. I would find that you met that criteria because it's a shed, big deal. Finally, the hardship was not the result of action taken by the appellant or a prior owner. Here, you're trying to move a shed to a different location which encroaches on a line. The code says you gotta have 20 feet distance. Can you avoid that if you do a little more work? Yes, so I don't think you've met that criteria. Be interested in hearing your opinions on all the criterias, each one of you, or we can take a vote. Steve?
No, I think that you've summed it up pretty well.
Sir?
Unfortunately, the hardest one in here that I've run into on the other side of this table is the hardship's not the result of the action taken by the applicant. I mean, I've had places surveyed and put stuff in a place where I was told it was the right spot and it wasn't, and it was still my actions. So there's no way that I could.
Bruce?
I agree with what your findings are.
Sir?
Yep.
You like my findings?
Yep.
So what, move to adopt my findings? And
So
with
moved.
that, vote to deny the request.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed, 5-0. Sir, the reason I asked people to go into the hallway is because of that situation we just had in the
Oh,
vote.
absolutely.
And I was hoping that you guys could come with a compromise that made you both happy. We had to decide it. You have the right to appeal. I think you have 30 days. The record will reflect that we have pictures that Lori will gather. We have the maps Lori will gather. We have your testimony. It was recorded. And you can appeal this. It's called an 80B something appeal to the Superior Court. Appealing factual issues generally doesn't get you very far. Appealing legal gets you further. I'm a lawyer. I do this for a living. Legal stuff gets you far. If you think we've made an error, you can point that out. If you think we've treated you poorly, you can point that out. You can raise anything. I've tried to make it so everyone got a say and didn't deteriorate into name calling, and I hope you don't put a trailer out there that looks like crap. I hope you can get along. I hope that you can move it back 20 feet and be happy with it.
10 feet.
10 feet, 10 more feet,
10 more feet.
and be happy with it. These decisions are difficult because property is your own. You should be able to do what you want, but then all the out-of-staters came in and said, we need rules. And the more rules we get, the more rules you gotta follow, right? Would this be the same in 1950? You wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't be here. But now we got the rules and we gotta apply them. And that's how I see the rules apply to your situation.
No, you're not wrong.
Okay. Anything else we need to do?
Is there anything, do I work with code enforcement as far as timeline on moving the shed? And
Well, Lori is your best friend and your worst enemy at once. She's not gonna bust your bubble but that shed's gonna probably have to be moved now that she knows it's in the wrong place. Reasonable times apply, reasonable efforts apply, and once a problem is pointed out, Lori's gotta deal with it. She's usually very, very reasonable. Dwight and her, dynamic combination. You guys we were doing a lot of these, and then all of a sudden, the suggestion was made, tell them what to do, and by God, Dwight did, okay? And Dwight changed and made it so people could get through the process with the help of the code enforcement office. And then we only got 1 or 2 a year, which is great. Taxes, same thing. You know, we had an assessor that was very aggressive, and he got stomped a few times, and then he started working with people, and it would set reasonable, and how many tax appeals have we had this year?
Oh, no, I don't.
Larry does a really good job, and he works with people. That's the way government's supposed to be. Anyhow, I say we adjourn. All in favor?
So moved.
All opposed? Vote, we're out of here.